Morning, students. Welcome to summer 2024. Welcome to our Housing and Accommodation Seminar. I'm joined by my colleagues today, Shauna, Michael, and Mark, and we're here to provide you all the resources that are available to you as our students coming into the summer term of 2024. Lambton College in Toronto has been around since the summer of 2011. We started with 30 students. Now we have several thousand students, and we have over 25,000 graduates since that summer of 2011. So we've been around. This is our 13th year, and lots of resources that are available in coming here to Lambton College in Toronto. So you have to study, which is here in North York. Most of you have jobs and you're looking for jobs, and you need a place to live. So some of you have arranged for that already. Others have found something temporary, but we have lots of resources to assist you in your decision in coming here. So we welcome you. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it over to Shauna. Thank you very much for listening.
Thank you very much, Michael. Good morning, everyone, and welcome to our session on housing and accommodation. I'm sure you're excited to start your studies here in Toronto. This session will give you some helpful information in your search for a place to live, as Michael mentioned. My name is Shauna, and I'm joined by Michael Liu and Mark Gonzalez. Michael Liu is your go-to person on housing questions, short-term or long-term, or even after you're settled in. If you send an email to housing@cestarcollege.com, he'll answer your questions himself, or he'll point you in the right direction. Mark is our producer today, and he is going to open the chat up a little bit later. Our plan is to wrap up in about 30 minutes. We should have time at the end for questions, and we'll ask you to just put your questions in the chat when that's open. Sorry. An overview of what we're going to be covering today. Again, the purpose of this session is to give you a sense of the rental options in Toronto, where to search, costs to keep in mind, and we'll provide you with some tips on how to protect yourself from scams and let you know about the supports available to you once you're settled in. I'll turn things over to Michael Liu a little bit later, who will inform you on what to do when you arrive here in Toronto, and we'll close out with some additional resources. And like I said, if time permits, we'll take your questions at the end. So let's get started. So short-term housing. So short-term housing, a few options here. We find in speaking with students that most find accommodations before they get here, but if you need a short-term rental until you find a place, or maybe later once you're settled in, if you decide you need to move, or you need a place for, you need a transition, a place in the transition between one place and the next, there are lots of options for you for short-term rentals. You can stay in a local hotel or a homestay. A homestay is where you'll live with a Canadian family for sometimes around a month. This is usually room and board situation, where that means you'll have lodging and meals. It's a great way to get acclimatized to Canada because you'll be living with a Canadian family. And if you're looking for something short-term until you find a place, you can reach out to housing@cestarcollege.com to find more about this option. Also, our website at the bottom there is the Lambton College in Toronto International Toronto Housing website. There are some resources there as well. The other option you have is to reach out to, you've all been assigned to a WhatsApp group, so you can reach out to that WhatsApp group that you've been assigned to, and they'll point you in the right direction as well. These are just some economical options for short-term stays. So long-term off-campus rental options. Now this is what everyone's here for today. So in most cases, you'll be renting a room in a house, and there are many shared spaces in that house. So you'll be just in one room of that house. There's also room and board options. So again, that's housing and meals. And then also you could reach or find an apartment with or without roommates, a number of different types of apartments. So there's bachelor, there's studio, flat with multiple bedrooms. So lots and lots of options for you here. The first thing that we want to talk about is where you're going to live. So the college is located in the Greater Toronto, what's called the Greater Toronto Area. You'll hear people referring to that as the GTA. Just keep in mind, and you can see the college logo right there in the city of Toronto, in that gold area in the middle of the map. So we're right at the border of Scarborough and North York. And you will find that the prices of accommodations will be a little bit more economical the further outside of the city core that you get. So just as you're searching, just make sure that you are taking that into account, because that could be, you really want to factor that into your monthly expenses. So the other thing that I should mention is that the college is accessible by the Toronto Transit Commission, which is the TTC, and also Go Transit. We're going to get a little bit into transportation a little bit later on in the session, but it's good for you to know that you can get access to campus pretty much from anywhere in the GTA using the transit systems. Feedback. Okay. And like I said, rental prices vary per region. So what kind of research are you going to do? So make sure that you're researching the community and the neighborhood. Like I said, the price can vary depending on where you decide to stay. Talk to friends and family. I really feel like this is probably the best, the most reliable information that you can get, referrals from people who either know the neighborhood or are already living in that neighborhood. Find out what the average rental cost is in the area. You don't want to be overcharged, but this is also good to be aware to protect yourself from scams, because if a price seems too good to be true, it probably is. Then find out, what the commute is like. How close is this location to public transit? Like I said, you can use local transit to get to the campus, but you just want to make sure, you're not going to have a long walk to get to the bus stop or the subway stop or the train station. View the property if possible. I think that this is great, but I think it's going to be very difficult if you're still you're not yet here in Canada, but you can always get someone to do this for you. The reason we recommend this is because virtual tours are not always the same as the in-person situation. You might find when you go into a unit that maybe the dishwasher is not working, or maybe there's some damage to the unit. So you just want to just make sure that someone can check out the property before you decide to sign pen to paper for that contract. And if you do want to see a property, you just reach out to the landlord or the property manager. And meet the landlord or the superintendent or the building manager if you can. Then you can get all of your questions answered. You want to make sure that you have a clear sense of what's going to be happening, all the rules associated with the rental property, all of that stuff you want to figure out before you sign the contract. Take pictures. I think it's important that you take pictures for a number of different reasons. You want to ensure that the room is in the same condition when you move in that you saw when you looked at it, or if you send someone in your place to take a look at the property. This is also helpful when you leave, because if there's any damage to the property and that it was there when you moved in, then you won't be held responsible for it if it was there in advance, and then you have proof that it was already there. Where to search? These are some reliable and safe housing websites. So torontorentals.com, realtor.ca. A lot of people use that website for purchasing houses, but also rentals Rentals are already also listed on realtor.ca. Rentals for newcomers is one that is recommended by the North York Community House, who is someone that I'm going to be talking about in a bit. Facebook Marketplace, so just make sure you have checks in place for that. So you want to make sure that the area is safe, and you want to make sure that you have an agreement in writing, all of that stuff, because it's possible through Facebook Marketplace that there may be scams. So you just have to be aware. And then, like I mentioned at the beginning, WhatsApp groups. So just reach out to the WhatsApp group that you're assigned to right now, and they may be able to connect, or they will be able to connect you with the WhatsApp LCIT housing group. And then there may be other students who are looking for roommates. So what to consider when it comes to the costs of your rental unit. Is it furnished? Of course, you're going to want to know that, because if it's not, then you need to factor in the cost of getting furniture. Utilities, so electricity or hydro, gas, water, are these included in your rent? The landline, is there a phone, a landline, and who is responsible for making the payments for that landline? Often internet and cable are over and above what you'll be paying for your rent, so just keep that in mind. And then parking. If you eventually get your driver's license here in Canada, or maybe you already have it, I don't know, but if you have to park, you need to know what the costs are of the parking before you arrive at your rental unit. I put on here, pay your bills on time. This will impact your credit rating. The reason I'm aware of that, or trying to inform you of that at this point, is simply because once you get into your rental unit, everyone in the house or everyone in the apartment is going to be responsible for paying bills, and you may end up having to open your own account for internet or cable. And if that's the case, you're going to want to make sure that you're collecting that rent early enough that you can pay your bills on time, because your credit rating, you're going to want to build that up as early as you can, and this is a great way to do it. I mentioned commuting and transportation. So there are several different transportation options in and around the GTA. The TTC is the downtown, will get you downtown and in and around the downtown area. The college has a TTC stop right outside, 10 stops outside the Tim Hortons there. So you have, or 10 steps outside the Tim Hortons. So you have access to TTC from the college. Also, the subway is very close by. It's about a 10-minute walk from the campus. Also, you might be outside the downtown core, in which case you may use GO. That's a train bus combination. In the north end of Toronto, you may, if you find a place there, you'll be using York Region Transit and Viva. And then my way is the Mississauga Transit System, and Brampton Transit is the Brampton, obviously, transit system. Keep in mind that fares do vary, but for the average trip, it's about $4. And if you are going to be living, for example, in North York or Scarborough, you'll be paying, you're better off paying for a monthly pass with the TTC, and there are discounts available for students. So what to expect? So let's say you find a place. Probably the most common way to secure that place is first and last month's rent. This is very common. And you'll want to provide them with your contact info. So that's email and phone number where they can reach you. Typically, they ask for post-dated checks. This is probably the easiest way for you to pay your rent. They may also accept e-transfer. Whatever you do, just make sure you have some form of proof of payment. So that's why I'm recommending the checks or the e-transfer. You just need some sort of for tax filing purposes, and also if there's any legal issues later on down the road, this will protect you. You may need to provide references. This could be challenging for you since you are new to the country. but you can use previous landlords as a reference. You can use someone from your previous workplace or your current workplace. You can use friends and family here in the Toronto area or even back home. There are lots of options for you for references, so don't feel like because you're new to the country that you won't have local references. You just need someone who can vouch for you. And then, as I mentioned earlier, the credit score. This is going to be something that some places ask for. It's tough. It takes time to build a credit score. What can you do? You can talk to the landlord. Just tell them that you're new to the country. Sometimes when you negotiate this credit score, you can tell them you're new to the country and can I just provide proof that I am a student at the local college, and maybe you can just provide them with the letter. Sometimes they will take that. But feel free to negotiate these things when you start looking and start talking to the property owners or the people who are negotiating the contract. So there's lots of regulations and rules and bylaws that this is just kind of a sampling. So in Ontario, there are regulations that state how many people can live in a residence. When you cannot be excessively noisy, how many working smoke detectors you must have, or carbon monoxide detectors, where and when you can find parking on the street. And this, keep in mind, this can change from month to month and from season to season. As you probably know, we get lots of snow here in Canada, and once the snow falls, the parking rules change. You'll need to shovel your driveway and sidewalk, and you'll need to cut your grass, and there's lots of rules and regulations that everyone has to live by, and just make sure that you familiarize yourself with these rules before you move in. There are also rules for your house, and these are things that you can check with your landlord or the building manager. They may be posted around, but just make sure that you find out about these rules before you move in. So are pets allowed? Is there any smoking? A lot of rental properties will not allow any smoking at all. Find out who parks where and when. And when just when I was going to university, I lived in a house where I had access to the kitchen only during certain times of the day. There were 7 of us living in this house, and none of us knew one another, and we were all going to different schools. We all had different dietary needs, and we all had to book time in the kitchen. So that's one of the shared spaces. You just going to want to find out what those rules are in advance. What are the other responsibilities in the house? So garbage disposal and recycling, shoveling snow, cutting the grass. Who's responsible for all of this stuff? Your housemates will share all of this with you, but you just need to know what those rules are. And don't forget, no paying bills late. So again, if you're responsible for the bill payments, you're collecting that well in advance. Okay, so just a couple things about a rental application. So you'll likely have to fill in a rental application when you find a property that you are interested in. It's pretty straightforward, but there are a couple things that we just wanted to keep make everyone aware of. So number of residents, like I said, this is regulated. In Ontario, there are rules around how many residents are permitted in certain dwellings. So do your research in advance to make sure that your application is approved. Your social insurance number, so you'll need this for your application. Get this before you begin filling in the application. And then if you have other applicants living that you plan on bringing to this rental property with you, you'll need to provide their information too, their names, their ages, their relationship to you. Just make sure that this is all very accurate, just to ensure that your rental application will be approved. Okay, so this one is big, the rental agreement. This is a contract between you and the landlord or the management of the building, and the college is letting you know you need to insist on this right from the get-go. This is important because it protects you. It also ensures that your rental property is legitimate, right? Because if someone is going to enter into an agreement with you, then it's likely not a scam because it's all in writing. It makes it clear who is responsible for what in the property. So what's included in this? So the lease terms, it'll tell you when you're going to be making those payments and how to make those payments. Is it by check? Is it by e-transfer? It'll tell you when those payments are due. So are you paying at the beginning of the month? Sometimes rental properties are asking, or the landlords are asking for the payment mid-month on the 15th. That's all going to be in the rental agreement. The length of the agreement will probably be 12 months, so don't be surprised if you're required to sign a 12-month lease. Now, this protects you as well as the landlord, right? Because your rent will not go up during those 12 months. And at the end of the 12 months, you need to let the landlord know if you're planning on staying on. The other thing that will be included in the rental agreement is information about how much your rent may increase at the end of the 12 months. Again, this is regulated, so just make sure you get all of that information up front. What other expectations do they have of you? So how will the property be maintained? How are bills going to be paid? Also access to the apartment. So they may ask for access to the apartment and they'll let you know, or the property, and they'll let you know in advance. There will be something in the rental agreement about how much notice you'll get around that, but they might just come in for maintenance or repair, or at the end of your tenancy if they want to show someone else the property. Just make sure you get all of that, you understand all of that in the rental agreement. Lease cancellation and what the penalties are. So as I mentioned, you're likely going to be signing an agreement for 12 months, but if you have to cancel for whatever reason, there will be penalties and you'll just know those up front. And then notice required, usually this is 60 days. So let's say after the 12 months you want to stay on, and it's usually month to month after that, but of course that again will be in the rental agreement. But if you stay for another couple months and you're continuing to pay on a monthly basis, you have to give them 60 days notice if you plan to leave that property. So just a very quick, this is what's included, but of course there are other things that are in that rental agreement. So you're the tenant, you're required to pay your rent on time, you're required to respect the rules in the lease agreement, you're required to clean and maintain the home, and tell the landlord of any repairs. Don't ever try to do repairs yourself. Make sure that you're reaching out to the landlord or the building manager about any damage to the property. You just don't want to put yourself in a situation where maybe there's a fire hazard as a result of something that has been done to the property. And then I mentioned the permit entry with proper notice. So as long as they're giving you notice, you notice that they're coming into the property or into your room, for example, then you need to let them in. And the landlord is responsible for collecting your rent and providing utilities if they are responsible. But again, this is something that you need to clarify in advance. Allow reasonable enjoyment. So they're not going to tell you that you're not allowed to play your music, but they might tell you that you can't play your music high after 11 o'clock, right? So you're permitted to live a very comfortable life in this unit, but without disrupting everyone around you. No illegal seizing of property. So I mentioned that they need to be able to get into your property for some, or in your room for advice, or move out of your apartment. So we'll get to that in just a second. I did promise that I would spend a little bit of time on scams. So just make sure that you are protecting yourself from these scams. Canada is a pretty law-abiding country. You know, we don't worry too much about stuff, but there's scams everywhere. So don't ever deal in cash. You need, like I mentioned, a paper trail. Not if you're using e-transfer, that's proof as well, but either checks or e-transfer are your best bet. See the property, like I said, or send a family, realtor, or friend. If you work with a realtor, by the way, they typically do not cost anything. The cost is the person who's renting the unit. So if you're dealing with a realtor, they will go and look at a property for you, And I recommend that you do that, or if you have a friend or family here in the GTA that can do that for you, then that's probably a good idea. Speak to current tenants if you know anyone who's already living there. Like I said, that's probably the most reliable information that you'll get. Always demand a written lease agreement. I can't stress that enough. Be careful of too good to be true rates. Again, if you are finding out what the average rent rate is in that neighborhood, then just keep in mind that you don't want to go, you don't want to be in a situation where if you see that rent is really low, it probably is not legitimate. And use reliable sites, those ones that I mentioned before, and I'm going to put them up in just a second. Use a realtor or deal with a property management company, because then you know that that you are dealing with a legitimate property. And if you are ever a victim of fraud, call the bank and the police and get the support that you need. Just like I said, these are the reliable sites again: torontorentals.com, realtor.ca, rentalsfornewcomers.com. Again, Facebook Marketplace, obviously with those checks in place, or the WhatsApp groups, lots of options for you. And then also, I should mention our own website that should be up there, but the housing website, which I'm going to put up at the end of the session, there's all kinds of resources on there, and you can get more information than what you got from the session today. Like I said, I'm going to turn things over to Michael Liu, my colleague now, and he's going to give you what you can expect when you arrive at Pearson International Airport here in Toronto. Over to you, Michael.
Okay, thank you, Shauna. Good morning, everyone. My name is Michael. I'm oversees transportation and housing issues here at Lambton College in Toronto. So today I'm introducing a few transportation options for you from airport to your pre-rental apartment or house. So the first one is Lambton College Toronto Airport pickup service. This services is operate from college directly. So as a student here, Lambton College in Toronto, you are eligible for accessing this service for free. So once you obtain your credential after completing online registration, you can access the SESTA Support Center. It should be the same username and password as your SESTA database. Once this service is free, if you are traveling between the area between Vaughan, Markham, Richmond Hill, Brampton, Mississauga, Toronto, Pickering. So we cover the most area of GTA. For some areas like Waterloo or Kitchener is far from Toronto. So this service can be charged from us, but it really depends on the driver time availability. So you should ask us if you want to travel to the far area from Toronto. So there are a few matters need your attention when you request this service. So when you create the supporting ticket, you should select the help topic of complimentary airport pickup service from the drop-down menu and fill every single question from the questionnaire. You cannot skip any questions, especially the drop-off location. So these days, when we process the application, we have students, they don't fill the drop-off location. So in this case, it's hard for us to process your application. So if you don't have the place to go, then you should contact us a few days before when your arrival, so you can access our partnership hotels with a special discount for your first few days settle down at your own cost. The second thing is, once your request is confirmed, our driver will contact you a few days before to confirm the details through WhatsApp. So please make sure your phone number on SESTA database is correct. So you can always update your phone number there. So the last one is, Once your request is confirmed, we will share the information of the driver. So please make sure talk to the driver and myself or other college staff if your flight got changed or rescheduled. Okay. The second option is TTC Express. So there are a few routes of TTC is available for you to select. So the first one is Airport Express. This one is between Kipling Station and Toronto Pearson International Airport. The second one is 50A Lawrence Avenue West. This one is this bus serves between Lawrence Station and Pearson Airport. Next one is 300A. This one is between Danforth, Bloor to Pearson Airport. And you also have 332 Eglinton West. This one is between Young Eglinton to Pearson Airport. So for more information, you can visit TTC Pearson Airport Guide to find out more information. The next one is UP Express. This train is from Toronto Pearson Airport to Union Station. So in like every 25 minutes, I'm assuming. So if you really want to travel to downtown Toronto, this can be a best option for you because saving a lot of time. The last one is taxi and limos. So this one can be costly. So I don't suggest a student to use this service because you may need to pay more money on this. So if you just apply the service from us, so we will give you the free service. I think that's it, Shauna.
Okay, thank you very much, Michael. Yes, so lots of options for you when you arrive here. Again, all of that information, it's a lot, all of that information is on our housing website, which I'm going to put the URL up for in just a second. I did mention that we have lots of supports available for those of you once you're settled. So this session was mostly about how to find a place, but let's imagine you find a place, you move in, your landlord is unreasonable or your roommates are unreasonable. Maybe the conditions are not what you originally expected and it's causing you a great deal of stress. Reach out to us. Reach out to housing@sestarcollege.com. You'll be in touch via email through with Michael, and he will point you in the right direction, or like I said, help you himself. We can make temporary arrangements while you are transitioning to a new location, but we can also put you in touch with external resources to the college that can give you all kinds of support as you're going through that process. This is just another list of resources. That one at the top is where you'll find all of the information that we shared with you today, and also more. There's lots of things that you can download from that site. You can reach out to the landlord and tenant board yourself if you want, if you have questions. The second site there's the Clio on clioon.ca. This is a great site for providing your legal rights as a tenant in very plain language without having to go through the Landlord and Tenant Act. And then the last one there, second last one is the North York Community House, and I mentioned them already. They are an amazing support for students at the college. You'll see them when you come to the on-campus orientation sessions at the end of April, early May. They offer a lot more than local housing supports. They help with settlement support and daycare options, immigration. They'll help with tax filing, any kind of integration, get you in touch with other community supports. And by the way, the services are free. So just know that they are a great source for students. They will also be running a number of sessions throughout the they come to campus and they run a bunch of sessions, or they run them remotely. So just take advantage of the supports, those supports that are available to you. If you just a few more questions today, today's session was about housing and accommodation, but if you do have questions specific to registration, there's an email address there for registration questions, and we will turn those. We've got a bunch of ambassadors right now that are answering all of the registration questions. Also, reach out to your WhatsApp group. Oh, sorry, I missed the orientation one. Orientation info at SStarCollege.com if you have any questions about orientation. And then you always have access to that WhatsApp group that you've been assigned. And again, the housing at SStarCollege.com email address is there for you. I'm just going to ask Mark to open up the chat and see if there are any other questions that students have. We have run over, and I apologize for that, but if there are any pressing questions, maybe we can answer them very quickly for you. Okay, thank you, Mark. It doesn't sound like there are any questions in the chat, so I just wanted to wrap up by saying thank you everyone for joining us today, and we look forward to seeing you on campus at the end of this month for our on-campus live orientation sessions. Bye for now, and safe travels.